Hello, welcome to our kitty pumpkin wreath tutorial. Most of the supplies can be bought at the Dollar Tree, including this cat material that is just to die for. It is so adorable. Materials and links are in the description below. Before we get into how we made the wreath, we want to share with you a special tutorial on how to make this cute little stuffed fishbone. Access to this free fishbone template is in the description below. We will cut out the material that looks like 2 dog bones on the black material and 1 fishbone on the white material. We cut our templates out on black and white felt. However, you could use material or foam sheets as well. We just pinned ours on and cut around the shapes. Here's a quick tip for cutting out the fishbone itself. Cut out the larger areas first to make it easier. Cut along the head, the top and bottom of the fish bones, as well as the tail. Once you've done that, you can go in and cut out the smaller areas with ease. Now that all the material's cut out, I've pinned on the white fishbone to one of the black dog bones. I'm using fabric tack glue to glue it on. Fabric tack glue works great. It's meant to glue fabric on fabric. It has a really tight bond and it's also machine washable. You can buy fabric tack at Joann Fabrics and it's cheap, especially if you use a Joann's coupon. At this point, I have already pinned the 2 dog bones together and we're getting ready to fill it with cotton and glue it together with the fabric tack. I'm starting on one end and just using the glue to go ever so slightly around the edge. And you can see that the dog bone underneath wasn't cut extremely well. However, we can still fill that in on the back side. You're not going to be able to see it anyway. So if you have a problem with one of the bones, just place it on the back side. I will use approximately 4 to 5 cotton balls to stuff inside the rounded part of the bone. Then I'm going to start adding more fabric glue going up the center of the bone, continue to stuff it and stuff it all the way to the end here, and now I'm gluing it together. Now we have our finished fishbone, dog bone, or bow, whatever you want to call it, for the top of our pumpkin wreath. We are beginning by cutting felt that was bought by the yard. We're cutting 3 pieces that are 4 by 15 inches long. This will provide a really nice base and structure when we add images to the pumpkin form. Like the felt strips, the material will be cut in 4 by 15 inch strips as well. We need 3 of the cat material strips and we need 4 of the black circle strips. And now for the fun part, starting the pumpkin. Here's a quick look at how the felt will be placed on the front of the pumpkin wreath. Take 1 strip of felt, center it in the middle, and then you're going to hot glue it on. I like to start in the middle, and after I start to glue it on, I wrap it just on the front and a little bit on the sides, and I smooth it back and forth. That way the glue will not glob up on the sides. Working from the middle, I'm gluing it all the way down to the ends. Now I'm trimming the ends so that they're about 3/4 of an inch away from the outside edge of the rim. After finishing the front side, I'm turning it over and I'm hot gluing the edges in to finish the seams on both sides. I am beginning to wrap the leftover material onto the back side. This can be a little bit tricky. One thing you could do is cut at a diagonal on the corners there so it's easier just to fold over since you're going to be covering it with fabric anyway. As for now, I'm just folding it over and sometimes I make a cut right where the wire is on the outside so it's easier to fold over. Here's what the felt looks like when it's applied to all 3 areas. Before I add the material, I'm using a sponge brush and matte Mod Podge to brush over the felt. Now this feels a little uncomfortable at first because the felt has little fibers in it. The purpose of this is to help stretch out the material so that there's no wrinkles in it. Plus it creates a more water resistant surface. It's not really meant to glue one section to another. However, if you let it dry for a little bit, it will stick better. Therefore, I'm applying glue and all 3 pieces of material to the front side to allow it to dry a bit before I turn it over to the back side. Here's another thing. When adding the cat images to the sides, it was difficult to match up one material to the other material so that they looked more balanced. I looked for a triangle of 3 cats together rather than to make the material line up perfectly. The Mod Podge is applied to the front of the felt and the material. I'm allowing the Mod Podge to dry for approximately 15 minutes before I turn it over on the back side to add the other material. I decided to Mod Podge the 4 strips of the next material while I was waiting for the front to dry. I did this on the front and back. My goal is to stiffen up the material enough so it's easier to lay down over the 2 center sections on the back side. It's time to test the material and see if it holds when I turn it over. Yay, it does! On the back side, I'm hot gluing in the edges like I did with the felt. The milky white substance on the back of the blue felt is Mod Podge. It seeped through the backside and it will just take a little while for it to dry, and it'll be more clear once it dries. When you get to the edges, if you do decide to cut it diagonal, make it a little bit wider so you can fold the material under a little bit so you get a really nice clean folded edge when you bring it over onto the backside. When applying the second material, you may want to Mod Podge the front and back sides as it is. All you're going to do is place it in between the 2 sections, and once you get that aligned up the way you like it, glue the edges down with a hot glue gun. When gluing on the edges, make sure to stay about an inch away from the rims because you're going to take the material on the ends and bring it around on the front and wrap it around. You can see how I fold it in at the bottom so that I can wrap it around to the back side. I will be wrapping the pattern material onto the back side just like I did with the cat material. When I take the material onto the back side, I will fold it in a little bit so the frayed edges are hidden. The sides are a lot easier to add than the center part. I'm gluing the edge to the center part and allowing the rest of the material to flow over the rim. I'm trimming the edges about 3/4 of an inch away from the edge like I did before. Then I will bring the fabric from the back side to the front side. Once I flip the pumpkin over, I will bring the fabric and wrap it from the front side onto the back side of the rim and glue it to the back just like the rest of the material. This is what the pumpkin looks like on the front side. And I can see that there's a couple little loose edges between the pattern material and the cat material, and I'm just running my glue gun in between a little bit to pull the pattern material a little bit more taut in a few places. At this point, Luba's taking over and she's adding the embellishments. To begin with, she'll show you how to make a hanger. Take a piece of ribbon that is approximately 12 inches long, fold it in half, wrap the ends around your finger, and then take the 2 ends, pull it through the finger loop to finish a larger loop. Now we're wrapping it around the pumpkin rim. We are opening up the bottom part where the knot is, pinching the loop at the top and bringing it through to create a loop so that the knot is at the bottom. For the stem, we're using an orange velvet ribbon that we bought at the Dollar Tree. We cut the bottom so it matched the top of the pumpkin, and we're using hot glue to go around the rim of the stem and then wrapping the ribbon around it. We can leave the open space on the stem at the top because that is where we are gluing the fishbone on with hot glue. In fact, everything that we're gluing on now is with the hot glue. We bought the flowers at the Dollar Tree. There's a couple of other things we're going to add to it, such as feathers and some bells. The bells were from an old Dollar Tree project that I had. All we're doing is using secondary colors, which are green, orange, and purple. However, it's a little different than looking at a color wheel because the cat material has quite a bit of yellow in it, and we found that matching this green up with a darker purple didn't work well, so we're going with a magenta-like purple and combining that with the orange flowers. Also, we're adding a couple of black leaves and foliage, as well as a little bit of the black wreath garland on the sides to top it off. And here's our final wreath, the fishbone kitty pumpkin. Thank you for watching, and please join us for our next adventures in wreath making. Our goal is to post videos by 11 a.m. on Fridays.